Hey y'all, it's Sherry with Hecate's Needle. I am here with an end of the year floss tube parade of parades, I guess you would say. It is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2025, the last day of the year. So I figured I would do a finish parade, a WIP parade, and a upcoming kits for next year that I want to start parade. So we're going to have a parade of parades. And yes, it is cold here today. So I am in sweats because I don't do the cold. Anyway, we are joined here today by the lovely Hecate. She is here with us and is not getting out of my chair. Sorry. So I have appropriated my daughter's chair, which actually has been in my room because my husband's been using it for his gaming. But anyway, here we are. We are also joined by the lovely Artemis. She is in a sunbeam. Because where else would you be? First, I want to start off today by saying welcome. Welcome to everyone. And I'm so happy to have you here. First, a little stats. Just a few numbers, I guess. So finishes for 2025. I have 14 finishes for the year. That's not a whole lot, but I did move this year, so there was lots of packing and unpacking to do. But I started the year with 17 WIPs projects, and I'm ending the year with 10, so that's not bad. I'll take it. My goal this year was to, I guess, whip down, shrink my number a little bit, make it a little less stressful, more manageable for me, and I have done that. So I had one goal. I did not fail. But anyway, let's get started with finishes. Okay, most of the finishes I'm going to show you are just the pictures because they are either hanging on my wall or they have been packed away for the holidays because they were hanging on my wall. But that's okay. We're going to start off with, now, if you've been watching, you know the last 2 months I have been working almost exclusively on my 2 Noctifloras. They were both stitch-alongs. One was from last year, one was this year's. Last year's was the Vampirum. I finished it. Yes, I did. I am so excited. Here it is. This is the Vampirum. And no, that didn't work at all. It's such a long piece. Let me see if I can go back. There we go. The Vampirum is complete. Now, this one I stitched on a 14 count Aida. It is from Witch's Garden Crafts. It is in the colorway Batavia. It was a fabric that was dyed specifically for this stitch along. But there it is. It is complete. I am so excited to have this done. Now, the next one I was working on was this year's Stitch Along by Noctiflora. I'm sorry, the chair keeps spinning. I'm not sure why. I'm sitting cross-legged. My feet aren't touching the floor, so I don't know. But I keep going, woo. But anyway, this was this year's Stitch Along by Noctiflora, and it was the Toad Ghoul Terrarium. And again, it is complete. I have finished it. I love it. All the little fungi are just so fun. This one was stitched on a 14 count Aida in the color Kairi from Black Dahlia Fabrics. Again, this one was dyed specifically for this stitch along. Now, I had mentioned while I was stitching it that I wasn't quite happy with the way the middle of the words didn't show up a little, were kind of blending into the fabric. But what I did, I thought about outlining it, but I thought if I do back stitch around it, it's going to look goofy and I'm not going to like it. And then I thought about stitching a background around it, and I was like, again, I think it's going to look goofy. So what I ended up doing was just taking a pencil and lightly going around the letters so that they do show up a lot better. But anyway, I love how this turned out. I love the colors in it. The blues and the pinks and the teal. I love it. So that one is finished. And now I just have to get the two of them framed or frame them myself, whichever the case may be. Now, like I said, the rest of these are either on my wall or packed away for the holidays. So I will put pictures. Now the first one was the However Improbable. This was the Sherlock Holmes kind of mystery stitch along Advent Halloween thing that I had gotten so that I could stitch it for my husband, who at the time was reading the entire box set of Sherlock Holmes, which he has now finished, but he's moved on to the island of Dr. Moreau. But anyway, this one, and I did a whole series of while I was doing the stitch along up until the project completion. I will say the project was fine. The only part of the project I didn't like was the lettering. And here's a picture of the completed framed project. It's hanging on my wall, well, next to my husband's side of the bed with his Moby Dick and all of his others. I don't like the letters. I would have used different colors and I would have used a different font. Otherwise, the project was fine. And this was one of their in-house designs. They designed it. But the other thing I didn't like about the whole experience was they never came out and announced who did it. So to this day, I still don't know if I guessed right or not. And I've just decided, whatever, I'm moving on. They also had said they were going to send out a color copy of the pattern in a PDF form to the people who had bought the box. Never received that either. I'm not bashing Forbidden Fiber Co. I get a lot of things from them and I like their products, but I will probably not do another one of these boxes because of that. I mean, it was kind of an expensive box, and on top of that, you know, not the best experience in my humble opinion, and I am by no means a professional. But anyway, I did get a completed project out of it. Now, this one was stitched on a Forbidden Fiber fabric. It was a 16 count Aida in the color Toasted Coconut and all their own threads, which I think the colors of the threads were beautiful. I do love those threads, and I will be using the rest of what's left. So that's another finish. The next finish I have was my husband's Christmas cross stitch, and this was my little sushi cat. This was done on a kit or from a kit by Design Works, How I Roll, is currently hanging in my kitchen underneath the other one I did last year for him. And I used all kit materials, and then I just ordered a red plastic frame from Amazon and framed it myself. The next one I did was my daughter's Christmas present, and it was the Mario bookmark. This one was supposed to be stitched as a bookmark, but my daughter's not a big reader, so I didn't want to do a bookmark for her, so I did it as a wall hanging. This was a pattern from Dork Stitch on Etsy, and I stitched it on a 14 count fabric, Ada, in the colorway Frosty from Witch's Garden Crafts. It was a scrap I had. Now the next one I finished was the Lemon Study. And there's gonna be a glare, I'm sorry. There we go. This is a pattern from Yasmin's Made with Love. It is part of the Fruit Garden series. There are, I think, currently 10 in that series. I plan to do all 10, and I'm actually working on another one of them. This one was done on a 14 count Ada. It's just blue. It's a Witchelt. The floss I used was Highlighter by Forbidden Fiber Co. This was a joy to stitch on, and it did not take long. I love these patterns. She does such a great job on them. I enjoyed every minute of stitching this, and I'm currently working on the pomegranate, which you'll see in a minute, and I'm enjoying that one just as much. But I'm a person, I don't mind monochromatic stitching. Honestly, I kind of like it because there's not all the color changes. But absolutely love how this turned out. Now the next finish I had was Up on the Rooftop. This one was a free stitch along by Fat Quarter Shop. We were joined by a jelly bean. He was screaming outside the door. You want on your palm tree. There you go, baby. Apparently he didn't want to be left out. And then my face is covered with jelly bean hair. Nothing like a hairy jelly bean. Okay. Anyway, this was a free stitch along by Fat Quarter Shop. I had planned to do normally they have a free Halloween one in the summer. This summer they did not, but they did have this Christmas one, so I did it instead. I used just stuff I had in stash. I didn't buy anything special for it. I did this on a 14 count Ada in the colorway Gothic by Picture This Plus. Are we having rage? He's on his scratching tower. But I think he's starting to get the zoomies. So there may be chaos and destruction anytime now. But I did this on a 14 count Ada in the colorway Gothic by Picture This Plus. It was a quick, easy stitch. The pattern originally came with a border around it, but I didn't want to do the border because I had the ribbon, and I did the ribbon instead because I like the ribbon. But I used everything in stash. Nothing. I didn't buy anything for it, and that's a good thing about the Fat Quarter Shop and their free stitch alongs. There are things that you can do with whatever you have in stash. You don't have to buy a bunch of special threads. I mean, you can, but they also give you the DMC equivalents to them, so it's fine. The next finish I had was a Mill Hill kit, Moonstruck. I love how this turned out. I love it. I used all the kit materials. have it framed in a Mill Hill frame. I will say I'm not a fan of the frames. You know, $15 for a cheap frame that doesn't even have a back or anything to hang it with, to me, is not worth it. But I did use a Mill Hill frame for it. I probably will not in the future. I have a husband who can do woodworking. I'm just going to have him make me frames for my Mill Hills from now on. Because obviously with all the beads, you don't want it under glass. That would be probably a disaster. Or I'll find other ways to finish them as opposed to just framing them. But that one was a finish, and it was one of my oldest WIPs, so it felt really good finishing that one. The next one I finished was another stitch along. This one was from Stay Platinum Stitchery, and it is Haunted Hollow. This one was on a 14 count Aida in the colorway Lake Lanier from Witch's Garden Crafts. I love how it turned out. I think it's cute. Like I said, this is just a photo because we displayed it all Halloween, all October, and it's been packed away with the Halloween stuff now. But that was a finish. Very, very happy with how that turned out. The next one I finished was a kit from Riolis, and it was the Maine Coon. This one is currently hanging in my hallway. I used all the kit materials. It was on the 10 count, I believe 10 count Aida, black, just plain black Aida, and it was the wool and acrylic yarns. An easy stitch. I didn't mind stitching that at all. I really enjoyed it, and I actually have two more of the cats like that one. One is Jelly Bean, and one is a little gray cat, Trouble. She has since passed. She was old, but she has since passed. But I have that one as well to do, so they'll be coming up. Now the next one I finished was another stitch along, and this was a study of skulls. This was a stitch along from the Stitch Crypt. It was on a 16 count Aida, and I dyed it myself. I used all DMC, all the called for colors, but I love how it turned out, and it's currently hanging in my living room. Okay. There's a bird outside the window, and he's very intent on it. Now, the next two finishes are both hanging by each other in my kitchen. They are both kits by Luca S, and I used all kit materials. Materials? What? All kit materials. It is the cherries and the cherry ice cream. Both of those were Christmas gifts last year from my husband. But as I said, I used all kit materials. They were quick and easy stitches. I enjoyed them. I really did. And then the last finish I had for this year was Beautiful Biomes. This one was a stitch along from Pixel Pixie. And it was from last year, but the last final piece was released in January, on January 1st. So I finished it this year. This one was done on a 14 count Aida, and it was in the colorway Sand by Fiber on a Whim, and it was just plain black anchor floss. Again, I enjoyed this one. This was a very nice stitch along. We got one release on the first of each month, and the pieces were easy, quick stitches. I mean, a couple days and you already had the piece stitched, and you'd have the rest of the month, and there's a jelly bean, and you'd have the rest of the month to stitch whatever else you wanted. So those were all my finishes for 2025. As I said, only 14, but with moving and packing and unpacking and all of the nonsense, you know, I did what I could. Now, hopefully next year I can get more finishes, but I'm happy with what I did this year. As I said, I started the year with 17 projects. I'm ending the year with 10. So my goal to whip down was successful. And I cleared out quite a few of the stitch alongs that I tortured myself with. So that was a good thing too. So that's all of my finishes. Okay. And I have a list because I'm old and forgetful and senility sucks. But anyway, on to my current projects. My WIP Parade. These are the projects that are already in progress that I am taking into 2026 with me. And I forgot to unzip all these bags, and I'm very sorry. But the first one is a stitch along, but it was not done as a stitch along. I did not intend it to be a stitch along. This was The Four Elements by Satsuma Street. And this is where it's at. I love this project, and I really enjoy stitching on it. I really do. I think the colors absolutely pop on that black fabric that you can see right through, because of course you can. But I think the colors really pop on the black fabric. Now this one is being stitched on a 14 count, just black Witchelt Aida. Nothing fancy. I'm using all DMC, all the called for colors. Colored for? What the hell? Yeah, dementia. All DMC, all the called for colors. I love it. I love it. I'm one of those people, I don't mind block stitching. Block stitching doesn't bother me at all. Block stitching to me is easy and mindless. Not a lot of color changes. You can get it done a lot quicker than, you know, confetti. But here it is. As you can see, I have completely finished the water element, and I am close to finishing the earth. After earth, I will move on to air up here, and then over here is fire. Now this one is currently sitting at 48%. So I'm almost halfway done with it. I think I can finish this year. But I love it. I love this project. I love the colors. I love the way it looks on the black fabric. It makes me happy. And isn't that why we stitch? Now the next one I have, if I can get this one back in the bag. I have issues. Lots of them. Okay. The next one we have is up here somewhere. The next one we have is the next one from Yasmin's Made with Love Fruit Garden series. And it's stuck because my scissors are stuck to my needle minder. And it is Fruit of the Gods. It's the pomegranate, which happens to be one of my favorite fruits. So, of course, I'm going to stitch that one. But that's what it'll look like when it's finished. Now, this one, I am stitching on a 14 count Aida. It is in the color Moss Celadon, and it's just a Zweigart Aida. And it looks like this. This is what I've gotten thus far. I'm working on finishing the border. Now it is currently at 35%. Now I am stitching this with a Forbidden Fiber Co. thread. It is in the color Orchard. And I like the deep ruby red. I thought that was perfect for pomegranates. And I love the way it looks on this fabric. The deep ruby against the soft, almost like sage green. I like that a lot. This is another one. It won't take me long to finish. It really won't. These patterns of hers are so good. I do. I enjoy them a great deal. They're something that I can pull out and just stitch in an afternoon and make considerable amounts of progress. Now the next one I have going is one that everyone has seen because so many people have done it. And it was a stitch along. Now this was a stitch along by Lola Crow, The Deadly Aquarium. I had no illusions about keeping up with this stitch along when I started it because it is huge. So I'm just doing it as a project. Now I am doing this on a 14 count minty green opalescent. And this is what I have thus far. Now, I decided I didn't want to complete the frame before starting on the fun stuff. So I've already started this title pool and I'm working my way up, and then I'm just going to work over. But I'm back stitching as I go. And it's lovely. I like the way it looks. I love the way they've got all of the details and everything. It's just, this is a time-consuming stitch. Now, I'm at 28% complete, which, okay, not bad. And I do enjoy it when I stitch it. It's not that I don't enjoy it at all. I do. It's a fun stitch. I like watching the things come to life as you stitch them, especially once you start putting in the back stitch, because then you get all the detail. My bean. The next project I have is a kit, and it is from Forbidden Fiber. Forbidden Fiber Co. This one is Where the Sunflowers Are. I love sunflowers. Sunflowers are my favorite wildflower. So my husband bought me this kit for Christmas last year. It was a mystery kit. He had no idea what it was going to look like, but he knows how much I love sunflowers, so he got me that. And it came with the fabric. It came with the floss. The lovely Hecate has left us, so I get my chair back. But anyway, so the sunflower, this is where I'm at. Lots of block stitching, which again, I don't mind. Now this one I have at 25% complete. It's not a large project. The fabric is a 16 count Aida in the color Babbling Brook, which is a lovely light mottled blue. But I'm enjoying this one a lot. As I said, I kind of like the block stitching sometimes. It's good for when you don't really want to have to think. And there are times when I don't really have the desire nor the ability to think. I admit it. Okay. Now the next one this one came from the World of Cross Stitching magazine, and it is from May 2021. It is a pattern by Doreen Jones. And here it is. It's the Bee Mandala. Again, I love this pattern and I love the colors. It is so bright and cheerful, and I love bees. And again, we've got the sunflowers, which I have no problem with either. So, what's not to love? Now this one, I'm stitching on a 14 count Aida by Witch's Garden Crafts. It is in the color Frosty. Very pretty. Now, when it's finished, it will look like this. Now they did it on the white Aida, but I don't know if it was Aida. Let's see. No, it was even weave. But they did it on the white. But I didn't really want to do it on the white because of the white wings. They didn't show up. So my husband picked out this fabric. And I say he did good because I love the colors on this fabric. It is so bright. And that way you can see the white wings. I love it. Now this one, I'm actually at 48%. So again, almost halfway. This is another one that I don't see a problem with finishing this year. Probably fairly quickly, I would think. Very nice. I like it. Now the next one was one, and it's a huge one. It will take me a hot minute. And that is my Animal Crossing Polly Pocket. This is a pattern by Glitch Stitch AU. And it was one that I started. I did a start along with the Nightshade Needleworker on Instagram. Love it. I love Animal Crossing. But I don't have a huge start on it. This is where we're at. Now, I started in the center of the pattern, and I'm just working my way out. This is actually the outline of the shell. This is an outline of a fire, and we've got the waterfall coming down and the fountain. So I've gotten some done, but it's not as much as I'd like. I've only gotten 8% done. Not great. But it's being stitched on a 14 count Aida, light blue. It's just a Witchelt, but it will be huge when it is finished. And my goal is to finish it, frame it, and hang it above where we sit and game, my husband and I. The next WIP I have is a blackwork, and it is the Botanical Blackwork. This was actually a free stitch along by the Steady Thread. They do one every year. And I didn't do it as a stitch along because I started it in the middle of the year. But I do like the way they do their stitch along every year. And as I said, it's free every year. You can just go on to the website the first of the year, sign up, and then make an account. And then you go, each week they release a new piece, and they're small, tiny little pieces. As I said, I started mid-year, so I knew I was not going to keep up, but that's okay. Now it's 49 pieces, and I have done 21 of them. And that's where I'm at so far. Now, I didn't want to do black. I just wasn't in the mood. So I did purple, green, pink, and yellow. And I love it. I think they're beautiful. Now, once this is finished, I will likely turn it into a cushion or a pillow of some sort. But this one is being stitched on, hello, it's being stitched on a 14 count light blue Witchelt Ada, nothing fancy, and the colors I'm using are DMC 505, that's the green, 604 is the pink, 333 is the purple, and then 444 is the yellow. And those are all the colors I'm using. Now that one, as I said, I've gotten 21 out of 49 squares done. So that puts it at roughly, 43%. And that one, I don't mind backstitch. So that one is just, it's easy to just finish a square and then put it away, and then finish a square and put it away. Or 2 or 3 squares. If I really get in the groove, I could do that. Now the next WIP I have is my oldest project. And there's a reason why it's the oldest, because it was previously difficult for me to work on. Because I'm old and broken. I have arthritis. But this is a stamped kit that I started, I don't know, 3 years ago, I think, 2023-ish. I believe that's correct. But it was one that my mother picked up somewhere for like 99 cents, so she just threw it in with my Christmas presents that year. I don't know who it's by. I don't know where it's from, but I can probably guess. This is the only information I have. This is it. This is all that came. There was no brand name, no nothing, so your guess is as good as mine. But it's just a vase of lilacs. Now this one I have at 42%. As I said, this one was very difficult for me to work on for a long time because of the arthritis. This canvas is so stiff, it made my hands hurt. But for Christmas last year, my son got me a stand, and that's made it a lot better, a lot easier to work on. So here's where I've gotten it thus far. As you can see, I filled in this, all of this blue, this kind of brownish color. I have filled that in and gone up here. I've started filling in some of the lilacs. I've started filling in this background here. But yeah, this one, as I said, I've got it at 42%. I'm using all the kit materials. I believe this is like an 11 count canvas. I don't know what kind of floss it is, but it's just regular floss. But I'm doing better on it now that I have the stand, and it's not hurting me as badly. The next WIP I have was another stitch along, but again, I did not do it as a stitch along because I started it mid-year. And it was the free stitch along from Al Forrest Embroidery. It was not last year's, but the year before. So, or not this year, but last year, so 2023. And it was Treasure Island. And when it's finished, it'll look like that. And this is where I've got. Now the hold up with this one, I hate stitching these little people. Now I know you cannot have a book without characters, and so I have to stitch the little people, and I will stitch the little people. It's people aren't my favorite thing to stitch, especially these little cartoony ones. I've elected to not do most of the back stitching on their faces because they had these clown, like Bozo the Clown looking red lips that were just creepy. So creepy. And so I chose not to do that. And I just modified my back stitching. But anyway, this is where I'm at. And don't get me wrong, I love this project. I think it will look so nice because the middle of it is the treasure map is right in the middle, and then it's got sea creatures and all kinds of things, and I love it. And the reason I'm stitching it is because Treasure Island is one of our favorite books. Love that book. It's enjoyable. So I wanted to stitch it to put it on our literary wall. But I've gotten it to 42% now, so close to halfway. This is being stitched on a 16 count Aida that I tea-dyed myself. Once I sit down and start working on it, I enjoy it. It's just getting myself to do that. But now that I've done that many little guys, I'm gonna reward myself with some sea creatures the next time I pull it out. I want to do something that's not a little guy. I like sea creatures much more than little guys. Now the last of my WIPs is my huge full coverage one. And I have a small start on this one. And this is my Dark Elf by Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. And I don't think they're on Etsy anymore because I can't find the shop, which is a shame because there were several patterns I liked that they had. But I love this, and I love the colors of it. So pretty. Currently, I am at an embarrassing 4%. This is as far as I've gotten. Now this, I promise it's not all black. There is actually some super dark midnight blue. There's some super dark magenta in there. This isn't all black, I promise. Even though it looks like it. It looks like it to me, and I stitched it. But this is all I've gotten done so far. This is just being stitched on a 16 count, plain white. I mean, it's a full coverage, so no point in getting fancy. This one is not likely to be finished this year. Maybe next year. Or not likely to be finished next year, maybe the year after. Let's put it that way. But those are all my projects that I'm currently working on that I'm moving forward to 2026. I'm not getting rid of any of them. I love them all, and I want them all finished. So, that's it for my WIP Parade. Okay, now we're in the final parade. These are the things that I have kitted up for next year, for new starts. Now, there will probably be others, but these are the only ones that I've kitted up thus far. These are the ones I want to start first. And the first one I'm going to start with, and I have no idea. Let's see. This one is The Salsa Garden by Imaginating. I love it. I love it. And I love this in my kitchen. Now, I don't like the dingy looking dark fabric they used for it, so I've chosen my own. And what I went with was a touch of peach. And it's just a Witchelt. And it's just a peach colored fabric. That's a good representation there. And I think it'll look lovely with the colors. I did a floss toss. I think the colors will look very nice on it when they're not all knotted up, because I had them wadded up in a bag. There we go. I think the colors will show up nicely on it. And so that's what I've got kitted up for that one. And again, these are some of the first projects I would like to start for next year. So there is the Salsa Garden. The next one I have is one of Yasmin's Made with Love, one of the fruit garden series. The next one for after I finish the pomegranate, or one of the next ones. And it is the Grape Cluster. I love it. Now for this one, I went with, again, it's a 16 count Ada. It's just a Witchelt, but it's in tropical green. And it doesn't come off on camera as bright. There we go. That's fairly good. And the color I want to use is just a DMC, not a fancy floss this time, but it's 550. I think that will look really nice on that bright green. So that's the Grape Cluster. And as I said, I want to do all 10 of the Fruit Garden series because I want to hang them on my kitchen wall. The next one I have is another Yasmin's Made with Love, another one of the Fruit Garden series. And this one is Strawberry Delight. Now for that one, I've gone with another Witchelt, and it's another 16 count. And it's in Riviera Aqua. Now for the color, I've gone with a Forbidden Fiber Co. And it's in the color Big Apple. I think those will really pop. I like those colors together. So that's the next one I have kitted up. Now, a smaller project that I want to do that I have kitted up so far. This is the Quirky Quaker Snail by Darling and Whimsy. I think he's cute. I just think he's cute. I like snails when they don't eat my garden. But thus far, we've not had problems with snails here, so that's okay. Now, I got, this is just a scrap. Well, I mean, it's not a scrap. It's like 12 by 18. But it's in the color black chocolate. And I'm going to throw things in the floor because, of course, I am. It's a 14 count Aida. And the floss I have are some flower silks. And I think those colors pop on that fabric. This one is the color Ponytail Palm. And this one is Butterfly Weed. Now these are flower silks that I got in the mystery boxes. Or in one of the mystery boxes that I got last year. That I will never get again. But I've never stitched with silk. So it'll be my first try. So I'm looking forward to that. The next one I have kitted up. Cat hair. Is the Oceanarium by the Primitive Hair. I love that. I really do. Now for that one, I've gotten a 16 count Aida by Forbidden Fiber Co. And it's in the color Toasted Coconut. Which, as you can see, it's kind of a mottled tan. No, you can't see because video. There we go. It's kind of a mottled tan, kind of an aged look, which is what I wanted. And then I went ahead and got all of the called for classic color works for the project. There weren't that many colors, so. And then I also have the beads for the project. But there are the colors. So I'm looking forward to that one. I think it'll be fabulous. Okay. Now the next one I want to start for next year is Ink Circles Elemental Dragons Water. Now, mine, I want to do on a 16 count Aida in navy blue. And the floss I want to use is, and this is iffy, I'm not positive. I may hate it and change my mind, but I've gotten DMC E3747 to go with it. It's kind of a sparkly ice blue. Like I said, if it makes me too miserable, I can change my mind. But that's what I've got for it thus far. So, fingers crossed. And then the last one I kitted up, this is a big one. Is Bellatrix by Bella Filipina. I have all of the specialty braids, beads, everything. And then I dyed the fabric myself. So And all I need to do is pull the floss from my master stash. And then that one will be ready to go. Now the last project I'm going to start next year, I am actually going to start next week. It is going to be my birthday start. I didn't do a Christmas start. I didn't do a New Year's start because I wanted to finish my Noctifloras. But since my birthday is, in a week from today, I'll just start it on my birthday. And this was a Christmas gift from my husband last year. And it is by Bothy Threads, and it is Alice in Wonderland. I love it. Alice in Wonderland is probably my favorite classic. Secret Garden is probably my second. I love, and I'm talking about the original Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, not the Disney-fied, sanitized version. The original. I love this. Now, it is a printed Ada, and it's just all black. So again, monochromatic. But that is going to be my birthday start this year. So, those are the ones I've gotten kitted up thus far. And like I said, I will start others next year, obviously. I just haven't kitted them up, haven't made up my mind which ones I want to start. And I do have a whole shelf of kits over there from various, like Riolis and Bothy Threads and all of these. So I also have those too. What are you doing, Bean? Are you looking to be a demon? He says, maybe. I might. But that's my kitted up project in waiting parade. Okay, so those are my 3 parades for today. Plans. I am going to, again, have a low buy year because I want to stitch what I already have. Now, as you can see, I do a lot of bigger projects, so it takes me longer to get a finish, and that's fine. That's fine. But what I want to do is, again, have a low buy year. I want to use what's in my stash. Now, I'm not going to say no buy because sometimes there are just things that are so cute you have to have them. And that's okay. I am, again, limiting myself to very few stitch-alongs. Stitch-alongs get me in trouble because I stress myself out trying to keep up with them. And when I fall behind, my anxiety goes through the roof. So that takes the fun out of them. So again, I will limit myself to stitch-alongs. Now, if Fat Quarter Shop does a Halloween one this year coming up, I'll probably do it because I do typically like their Halloween stitch-alongs. The Christmas ones usually are not really to my taste, but this year was an exception, so next year maybe too. So I might do those as well, or that one as well. And I will likely do any stitch-along that Noctiflora comes out with. I don't know what stitch-along Al Forest will have. I wanted to do the mushrooms this year, and I have the pattern. I made sure I downloaded the pattern, but I never started it because I was still trying to finish the stitch-alongs from the previous year. So I don't know if I'll do the Al Forest either. I may download the pattern for later like I did with the mushrooms, but we'll see. Otherwise, as far as stitch-alongs go, it's going to have to just really knock my socks off to get me to do it. because it's too difficult for me to keep up with them. As far as any kind of challenges, anyone who's been here for any length of time knows that I don't really do challenges. They stress me out. The second I feel like I have to stitch, I don't want to, and I'm not gonna, and you can't make me. So it's counterproductive for me to do any kind of challenge. The only challenges I do are ones I do myself. Like I may have a monogamous, why? Hard to believe I used to be a speech therapist, huh? A monogamous May, or, you know, if I have a project or two that is really close to being finished, then I may do that. Or like this past couple months, I had a Noctiflora in November so that I could get those Noctifloras knocked out. I may do something like that, but WIP Go, all of that, I don't do any of those. They stress me out, and so I just won't. I will continue to spin the wheel. I am not going to have minimal stitch counts required of myself, though. When I do spin that wheel, it's like today's Wednesday. I woke up, I spun the wheel, I worked on the 4 elements. I did about 380 stitches. That's good. Good enough for me. If I decide to do some more stitching later this afternoon or this evening, I'll pull it back out and do some more. But I don't have a minimum. It's just whatever I get done is what I get done. Because it's just too hard on me. It's too hard on me. I have other things I have to do. And honestly, this past week, well, last week, I didn't get a lot done because I had a sick Hecate. She was throwing up and couldn't keep anything down. So we had to take her to the vet. And $600 later, now she's fine. That's okay, though. That's okay. It turns out she got some kind of stomach bug, and we had to give her nausea medicine and an appetite stimulant to get her eating again. But now she's fine. She's back to normal. So who knows? But what we were really afraid of is she may have had a blockage, like she ate something. But that was not the case. We did x-rays and she was fine. So we just had to give her medication, and now she's fine. Although the stomach-friendly food that the vet gave her, she won't eat. So that's nasty. I don't want it. Of course, because she is the pickiest cat on the planet. As my son says, she probably, those filthy boys keep breathing her air and making her dirty, and she's constantly cleaning herself, and she slurped up a bacteria or a germ from one of those nasty boys. That's his theory. So who knows? But I didn't get a whole lot done because I was worried about my baby. But she's fine now. But anyway, you know, I'm just going to stitch what I want to stitch. No goals. No goals. The ones that are at least 40% or more, I do want to get done this year. I want to get done. And I would eventually like to get down to 7 projects. Which I brought it down by 7. I went from 17 to 10 this year. So maybe by next year I can go from 10 to 7. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, those are all my plans. That's it. That's as good as it gets. I do have my check sheet. I do want to make sure that I touch every project during the month. But I have set it up a little differently this year. And then, you know, as far as sewing goes, I'm just going to sew. I'm just going to sew what I want. I have all kinds of things cut out. I have fabric pulled out for new project bags because do I need new project bags? Of course I don't. I have many. Am I going to make new project bags? Of course I am, because they have beautiful fabric. It is what it is. At least I own it and I admit it. But anyway, that's it from me. I do want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed or popped in just to see what I'm doing. And if you saw something you liked today and you want to see the progress I make over next year, I hope you do subscribe. I love the comments. I will always answer them. Chatting with you guys is always fun. And from the bottom of my heart, I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful new year. Please be safe. I know we are not going anywhere tonight because it's the annual night of gunshots. We live in the deep south. We're not leaving the house, okay? But please stay safe and have an amazing new year. And I will see you next year.